What's up, guys? Today on Dirt Lifestyle, we're going to tackle death wobble. What's up, guys? I get emails all the time from people who want to know why the hell they have such bad death wobble on their rig. Hopefully people in the future can watch this and they can see all the common and some less common reasons why you would have death wobble, and then you can itemize and get to where you can eliminate all the things that aren't causing it and eventually reach the conclusion as to what is causing it. By the time you come out of the other side of this video, you should basically be able to troubleshoot why you're getting death wobble on pretty much any 4x4 with a live front axle. You can get death wobble on stock suspensions and aftermarket suspensions, but it is far more common on aftermarket suspensions, and there's a couple reasons why. There's a lot of cheap lift kits out there that will include a lower control arm that's fixed, and they will have you reuse your upper control arm. They'll just basically give you a lower control arm, a shock, and a coil. We built some adjustable lower and upper control arms in-house, so that is not an issue for us. But this is something that is extremely common to give you death wobble, because since there's no adjustment, your caster angle can be too far off one way or another, and it'll be just enough to give you death wobble. Another really common problem that I see is the track bar or panhard bar. On cheap suspension setups, sometimes they'll have you use the factory one, and it'll make it to where your angles aren't exactly right, and this is something that, even though it seems small, will very often kick you into a death wobble type scenario. The third system I would check when you're trying to troubleshoot some death wobble problems would be toe. If you can get these three systems right, if you can get caster, if you can get your track bar angle correct, and you can get toe correct, it is very unlikely that you're going to have any issues with death wobble. I want to be really clear. There's a bunch of systems that we're going to learn to check in this video that are all very important when it comes to making your symptoms go away when it comes to death wobble, but I think that all death wobble is related to alignment. But you could have everything aligned just slightly off, but if all your joints are tight, there's no play anywhere, you would never know. So as you're driving down the road, you know, you get 20,000 miles on your rig, and then all of a sudden you start to feel a shimmy, then it starts to get worse and worse and worse, and you realize, oh, well, my steering joint's out, or, you know, I have a bad bushing, whatever. All that's doing is you have play somewhere, and it's making the death wobble show its ugly fangs. So it's really just showing you that there is another problem. So again, alignment's super important. I think that if you took your rig to a professional 4x4 shop that does 4x4 alignments, they're gonna be able to get you right where you need to be. And then if you have a joint go bad, or you have a bad hub bearing, whatever, it's just gonna give you a little bit extra play in the steering wheel, as it should, instead of making it to where it's barely staying on the road. First thing we're gonna do is what I call the wiggle check. I've never seen this anywhere else, but for whatever reason, it's worked really well for me for years. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna wiggle the steering wheel back and forth. And you don't wanna push it super far. You wanna definitely do it when the vehicle's off, at least in my opinion, because you don't want the power steering to assist you. You wanna basically see just enough wiggle and between the joints. You just want to see pressure go on and off, on and off, on and off. And if you have a loose, you know, pitman arm, or if you had a bad bushing in the bottom of your track bar, anything like that, you'll be able to see it with this check. So you just need a buddy or your wife or your sister, whoever. Get somebody in the cab here and have them just shake this wheel back and forth over and over and over and over. And then you can go underneath and you're just going to look at every single joint. If you have a TJ, an XJ, or a JK, I would start by watching this joint right here. And this one we'd have a bolt drilled through and clamped down. And you want to make sure that nothing is loose and augering out that hole. That's kind of a common issue whenever you have an aftermarket panhard bar up there. I would just slowly work your way down the line. We're gonna start up here, we're gonna go down to the next one, and then you're just gonna start checking out all of your rod ends. And this goes for, you know, stock steering rod ends or time joints like we have. Play in either joint will give you issues. So it doesn't really matter if you're stock or aftermarket. You just need to ensure that every single one of these joints is completely tight. The next thing we're gonna do is what I call the shake test. And the shake test is easy. We're just gonna jack up one side, and then we're gonna shake the wheel side to side, and we're gonna grab the top of the wheel, not the sides. You know, you can try to twist the sides like this. It's not really gonna show you anything that the wiggle test didn't already show you. So with the shake test, we're gonna go back and forth like this, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to put side to side pressure on our upper and lower ball joints, and we're trying to see if there's any play in that hub bearing. If you feel any sort of movement at all, I mean any, that means that you have a problem somewhere. Remove the wheel and start checking everything out a little bit closer. This next test is gonna be kind of hard for you to see, but I grab a pry bar. This is called the pry test. As you can see, I'm original with names. And I want to kind of stick this in between control arms, any sort of joint that we haven't touched on yet, and we're gonna shake it side to side. When we take this pry bar and we pry on any of these joints, that we don't see any movement at all. If we start to see movement, you know, if it's a bushing, you're gonna see a little bit, but like this should have none, and it looks like we've got none. So that's what you need to do, is go through any remaining joints and use this pry bar to see. The next thing that I recommend doing, that I know half the people watching this video will not do, but this is an important step, and that is get a torque wrench, get a torque sheet for every size bolt. Both of these are on my Amazon list if you don't have them. You don't need an expensive tool. You can get a $30 torque wrench, and this sheet of paper is like 10 bucks, and you know, it's garage proof. And basically you can just go through, you can look 1/4 inch bolt, grade 5, and it'll tell you exactly what to torque it down to. This is an important step, it really is. A lot of people they'll be driving themselves crazy trying to figure out what the heck is going on, why they have a little shimmy in their steering, and it's simply just like a loose lower control arm bolt that is slowly augering out the hole as they're wheeling it. So if you go through and you torque all these bolts down, let's say one loosens up, you can upgrade the bolt too. That's another option. It's another thing that's nice about this sheet, is that if you have a grade 5 bolt and it's loosened up on you a couple times, pop that bad boy out, go get, you know, a 1/2 inch grade 8 bolt or whatever that size is. Just get the heavier duty version. You'll see on this sheet, now you can torque it to a higher torque spec, and it's very likely that you won't have that issue anymore. All right, now that everything's tight, we can move on to alignment. I apologize in advance for my 5th grade like renderings on the board here, but it's the best I can do. We've got toe up here, and so these two black lines represent your tires. This line represents your axles, and this is from a bird's eye view, so basically just looking straight down on your axle. If your tires are tilted towards each other, that means you have toe in. If they're going away from each other, you're toed out. In either case, it's bad. It can definitely cause death wobble. Toe in is gonna make it to where you're like scrubbing the tire as you're going down the road, and it's gonna get traction, lose it, traction, lose it, traction, lose it, and then that bucking could easily give you death wobble. Toe out, a lot less likely you're gonna get it unless it's pretty extreme, but still not good. You know, you definitely wanna make sure that in either case, everything is towed within spec from, you know, whatever the manufacturer is of your vehicle. Now we have the alignment of our panhard bar or track bar, and this is to represent what like the factory Jeep looks like in terms of the steering and everything. And from the factory, it's not great, but it's good enough that you can drive 70 and you can be comfortable. It's still not ideal just because of the confines of how everything is spread out. So packaging is a common theme whenever you're building anything for the off-road world, and you basically just have to do the best with what you got. If you choose to go with a high steer setup, you need to make sure that both of those bars continue on the same plane. So if you move your steering, you need to move your track bar to match. It's a very important step. This is something that is also a very common problem and will absolutely cause death wobble if it's not sorted out. This picture over here represents caster, and the caster will change depending on the vehicle manufacturer, so Chevy versus Dodge versus Jeep versus Ford, whoever. A number that I see thrown around a lot is 4.5 degrees. Again, you're just gonna have to look up and see what it is for your vehicle and how close you can get it at home, or take it to a 4x4 shop that knows what the heck they're doing. So this is a side view on an axle. This is your upper ball joint. This is your lower ball joint. This would be the front of the vehicle. This would be the back of the vehicle. So as you can see, I've got 4.5 degrees this way. That's, like I said, a really common number that's thrown around out there. Don't just align it to that. Make sure that it's within the spec of your vehicle. The only system that I didn't mention, and it's rare, but it does happen, if you have a wheel out of balance, sometimes that can throw you into a death wobble scenario. But again, that won't trigger death wobble if your alignment's right. If you get your alignment right, then a out of balance tire is not gonna make you, your steering go all over the place whenever you're driving down the road. You get your alignment right, then you're gonna notice, oh, there's a little bit of a vibration, and then you can go get the wheel balance, no big deal. Those 40s down there on the floor, none of those have weights on them whatsoever. They're completely out of balance, but my Jeep goes just fine. I've never had death wobble in it. This is my 3rd set of unbalanced 40s from 3 different manufacturers, and because the alignment's right, I don't have death wobble problem. So again, keep these things in mind and seriously go through these things on the list one by one. Don't just think, oh no, I definitely have that taken care of. Just go one by one, and you're gonna stop pulling your hair out trying to figure out why the heck you have such bad death wobble going down the road. If you learned something from the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It really helps us out a lot. If you liked what you saw, you know, I build a bunch of different projects in here as well as doing these how-to videos. If that's the kind of thing you enjoy, make sure you hit the subscribe button as well, hit the bell. It'll make it to where you get notifications every time I come out with a new video, which is every Friday. So if you want to help support the Dirt Lifestyle, then you can go to thedirtlifestyle.com. You can get t-shirts, hats, stickers, that kind of thing, or you can go to Patreon. If you want to follow us on social media, I'm at Dirt Lifestyle Nate. And other than that, we'll see you next Friday.